Every decision we make is directly influenced by our emotions. In fact, it's the way our brain is set up. When a thought comes into, when some kind of stimulus, anything comes into our brain, it passes through the emotional part of our brain before it gets to the logical part of our brain. Like, we are wired that way. And in fact, if we didn't have any feelings, our decision-making ability is completely impaired. Our feelings affect how well we do in terms of reaching our goals.
Welcome to the EQ for Entrepreneurs podcast. Like most business owners, you already know you need good business and marketing strategies to scale and be profitable. But at some point, you've hit the dreaded wall where you feel stuck and frustrated. EQ for Entrepreneurs is for business owners and leaders who are honest enough to admit that they just might be the ones holding their business back and are brave enough to change that.
We're Noble and Kathy, and every week we're having candid conversations about all things emotional intelligence and how growing that has allowed us to get out of our own way and is radically transforming both our businesses and our personal lives. This is the secret sauce strategy for modern entrepreneurs who are tired of hustling without seeing results and want to grow a business and a life that they love.
Hey guys, welcome back to the EQ for Entrepreneurs podcast. You got Kathy again today, and today's episode is part 3. This is the last of the series that I've been doing on the dark side of emotional intelligence. So if you haven't listened to parts 1 and 2, I highly recommend you do so. Go back to episodes 27 and 29 to listen to the beginning of this series. I've loved getting the feedback from you guys on this topic. It's been so interesting just hearing from you because you're having these aha moments. You're having these ahas of, oh my goodness, that's what was happening. Or now I know why it felt so weird. Or, right, you're having these breakthroughs of awareness. And if I had to just say what I feel like the foundation of emotional intelligence is, awareness is probably the first step. It's the first step. You've got to become aware of your own emotions, and then you're becoming aware of other people's in reading a situation and understanding what's going on. And so just the fact that you guys are having these breakthroughs and these ahas, it just makes me so happy, because here's why. When you recognize these things, you can make changes. You can make changes either in yourself, you can make changes in the situation around you, right? Now, you can't necessarily make changes in other people, because I'll get to this, but we cannot change other people. That's not our job. They've got to make that decision themselves. So that's not even something we're setting as a goal. However, when we take care of us, it gives other people a chance to take care of themselves. And I'll get to that at the end. So we're wrapping it up with the third of this series is going to be what to do. Okay, I'm going to tackle this on 2 different sides. What to do if you realize that you're being affected by someone who's controlling or manipulative, or if you're in an environment that is. And then the other side is going to be what to do if you realize you've been the one doing the controlling and manipulation, because you might have that realization too. Here's the thing. As we've been on our emotional growth journey, Noble and I have had the realization that we've been in both of those positions. And it's not because I feel like anybody had bad intentions toward us. It's not because I felt like we had bad intentions. It's just because we were just doing some of these things because we had seen them modeled. We were just doing them because we wanted them to win. We wanted to win. We thought it was motivational, right? All these things. We had, these reasons for doing it, and that's all fine and dandy. But the bottom line is the outcome was still the same. The effect on us was still the same. The effect we were having was still the same. And, we had to make some major changes because that's just not cool. So, okay, but first, before I dive into that, one of the things that has been so challenging for us is Noble and I are sharing this story and this message of emotional intelligence, especially in the entrepreneurial world, which, y'all, we love. You are our people. we love entrepreneurs. We love your mindset, your grit, your guts, and we want to see you succeed. Some of you may have heard Noble. He's referred to himself before as an entrepreneur evangelist. Like he's all about helping people get up and run in their own business and succeeding in that. But what we keep finding is that business owners do not realize the importance of this. As business owners, we get so caught up in the tasks that we have to do, in the strategies, and we're doing hopefully you're doing some personal growth and development, but we don't realize why those things may not be working, right? So those who are just starting to stick their toes in the water and they're wanting to start a business, but they haven't yet, are what we call stuck at start, right? They don't know yet how to create a brand. They don't know what they have to offer. They don't know who they serve. They don't know how they should show up in the world. And they don't realize that the reason they're stuck is EQ. And at the same token, we've got people who are in the position of stuck to scale, right? Maybe you've had some success. Maybe you've been at this for a couple years, but you're finding yourself stuck as well. And you don't know why, because you've been doing all the things, right? You're doing all the things. You're an entrepreneur. Of course you are. You're doing all the things, but yet for some reason, it doesn't seem like it's working. So this summer, we're going to start teaching a very specific method for growing your EQ to impact not just you as the owner. Okay. But that's where it's got to start. It's got to start with you. But it's also going to affect your team, your partners, your employees, right? It's going to affect your customers, your clients, or your fans. And it's going to affect your business. And when I say affect, really what I mean is completely transform. Let me ask you this. How many of you have read tons of blogs, right? You've listened to hundreds of podcasts. Well, maybe not hundreds, but you're listening to them. You listen to audios. You're following the gurus. You're attending the conferences. You're buying the courses, and you're grinding. You're hustling, but still you're feeling stuck. You're just not. You don't see the thriving business happening that you want. Here's a news flash. In today's day and age, it's not a lack of information. There is so much free information out there to build a business, to build a huge business. It's not lack of desire or motivation, because I'm here to tell you, if you're an entrepreneur, you have that in spades. You do. It's EQ. And here's why. Let me tell you why. A lot of people don't think, they think, what? How on earth is emotional intelligence? Is that the solution? Here's why. Every decision we make is directly influenced by our emotions. In fact, it's the way our brain is set up. When a thought comes when some kind of stimulus, anything comes into our brain, it passes through the emotional part of our brain before it gets to the logical part of our brain. Like, we are wired that way. And in fact, if we didn't have any feelings, our decision-making ability is completely impaired. Our feelings affect how well we do in terms of reaching our goals. So we have an episode coming up, so stay listening. It's going to be later this month, about why you're struggling to find your authentic voice. And we'll be diving into this a little bit deeper. But for now, I want to say this. What if you could avoid these common business problems? What if you could avoid these? These are things that we see over and over and over again. Okay, how about failure to launch? Again, this is those who are stuck at start, right? It's fear, it's procrastination, it's the self-sabotage, it's imposter syndrome, lack of discipline. Do you know that all of those are emotional intelligence things? It's self-awareness. It's going to be self-management or self-leadership. How about this one? Failure to connect or communicate. Ooh, that's a big one. It doesn't matter how great your message is or your product or whatever it is that you're bringing to business. If you cannot connect with your ideal customers, it's going to be a flop. It's going to be a flop. You have to connect. And honestly, I'll just be straight up, let you guys have an inside glimpse into us getting this brand off the ground. This has been one of the things that we have struggled with because, EQ, people don't know what that is. They don't know. They don't know the language. They don't know the language of emotional intelligence. They don't know that they need it. They don't know why they need it. And so for us, we're realizing we can't lead with emotional intelligence, because if we just say that, nobody knows what it is. It's not connecting. And so we're having to dig deeper so that we can communicate and connect with the people who are in our audience who need this. Okay, how about this one? Maybe your idea is just a flat out bad idea. In other words, it's not what your customers are looking for. And that comes from not understanding the needs and desires of your clients. How about failure to scale and to grow? Well, that could be fed by a fear of success or playing small, fear and avoidance of money, not enough help, or trying to do it all yourself, or maybe having the wrong people on the team. Guys, these are all EQ issues, right? Isn't it crazy how much it touches? How about lack of self-awareness, right? Maybe you're turning people off and you don't know it, or you don't realize why, or you're not attracting your ICA and you're not sure what's going on. The feeling of being stuck and overwhelmed, burnout, the wrong business systems or lack of business systems and strategies because you're afraid of trying something new, or you have limiting beliefs about the way you should do things, fear of selling. Here's the deal. All those things are reasons why businesses fail every day, right? It happens all the time. Sometimes it's quick death. Sometimes it's a slow, painful one. But the bottom line is this. It's very hard to do good work when you're distracted by strong emotions, especially when your business is going to require some creativity from you. It's very hard. Like, these strong emotions, they broil under the surface and they sap energy without us even knowing it. It's like having appliances left on all over the house and you wonder why your electrical bill is so big. It's because all this stuff is going on and you don't realize it. So this is just one reason why the World Economic Forum listed emotional intelligence in the top 10 most in-demand skills necessary to thrive in 2020. We believe it's the most important business skill you could have, and it's like steroids for your business plan. Because here's the deal. It doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. If you could be in real estate, you could be in digital online a business. Maybe you're doing courses, memberships. You could be in any kind of business. If you're working with people, oh my goodness, you really need this, right? It's the most important business skill you can have, and it's steroids for your business plan. It is what we like to call the ultimate personal development hack. I hope you're getting it. I hope you're getting how passionate we are, because we know what this has done for us. And we know what it's done for some of the people that we've coached already. Just today, we had somebody reach out to us and say, oh my goodness, we figured it out. We're ready to start now. They'd been stuck at start for a couple of years, and they figured it out because they were working on their EQ. Because here's the thing. The answer's inside you already, right? God's put it in there. It's inside you. It's just all that we just got to sift through all the junk that's kind of covering it up and keeping us from finding it. And they had this massive breakthrough, and it was the perfect breakthrough. It's exactly what they needed. And they're off to the races with their business. And it's so fun to watch them. Okay, that's the end of my little rant there. So let's dive into part 3. What to do if you find yourself in a controlling environment or relationship, or if you've discovered that you are the one doing the controlling, even if you didn't mean to be doing that, okay? And hopefully you've listened to episode 27 and 29, or else this is not going to make any sense to you. So go listen to them first. Okay, so what to do if you find yourself in an emotionally controlling environment or relationship? Step 1, recognize it. Just recognize it, name it, call it what it is. If you go back to episode 29, I went through a list of 14. Now, that list is not all inclusive. There's more, but I listed a lot, and I think it'll give you some ideas of kind of what you're seeing and what you're feeling. But call it what it is. No guilt, no sugarcoating it, no saying, oh, well, I didn't mean to do that, or I'm sure that's not what that. No, it is what it is, right? You call it what it is, because that's the first step to getting awareness or changing anything. Is you have to name it. You have to say, this is what's happening, right? This is what's happening. And realize you may need time to process that and to decide what you're going to do. And that's okay. It might be coming, for some people, it might be coming as a shock. Like, you're kidding me. I had no idea this is what was going on, because you just kind of went along with it and you didn't realize what was happening. Some of you may have been realizing and feeling it and you're angry and you're ready to be done, ready to figure it out. Wherever you're at, that's okay. Give yourself time to process it. Allow yourself to feel the emotions and feelings that you're feeling with it. And when you're ready, you can move on. So when you're ready to take action, here's a few things you can do. Say if the issue is with the person, right? What I recommend is at some point you're going to have a conversation with this person. And I know that can be scary. That can be intimidating depending on what's been happening. But hopefully you can work through some of that to be ready to have the conversation. Here's some things that might help. Prepare ahead of time, right? Prepare ahead of time. So make notes, make a list of specific things they've said or done and exactly how it's made you feel. Because if you just say, well, I feel this way, that you just kind of sound crazy. But if you say, well, these are some things you've said and, or these are some things you've done, and that now you have some specifics. Now, I encourage you to be prepared to stand your ground. You don't know necessarily what the other person is going to do, right? They may feel defensive. They may try to minimize your feelings. They may say, no, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. Or minimize your feelings like, well, you shouldn't be upset about that. What's your deal? Or they may even gaslight you and say, nope, that's not happening at all. That's actually a good thing, right? So this is why you have your notes, so that you have something objective to refer back to and remind yourself, no, you're not crazy. This is called this, and these are the words that you said, or this was the action, or whatever, right? So that's why it's really helpful to have a list and to make notes. Now realize what the goal of the conversation is and is not. The goal of the conversation is not to change the other person, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with asking and saying, can you please stop doing this? Or can you stop saying this or whatever? There's nothing wrong with that. But you cannot control whether they will or whether they won't. So it might happen, especially if they're mature enough to hear you and to be open to looking at certain behavior objectively. But that's on them, not on you. It's not your job. That's their job. And here's why I'm telling you this, because if you go into the conversation with the intention and the goal of trying to get them to change their ways, you may end up very frustrated, and you could easily slip into being controlling yourself, right? So you could end up doing things to try to control this person to do what you want them to do. And now it's like this endless circle of manipulation, right? And so you don't want to get there. I recommend don't attack their character, right? Don't say, you're a terrible person. No, stick to, well, when you said this or when you do this, right? And stick to the notes and don't attack the character of the person. Now, so I told you what the goal is not to do. Here's what the goal is to do. The goal is to help you create boundaries. It's to help you protect yourself, right? When we think of boundaries, I don't know if you're familiar with boundaries. If you are not, I highly recommend you go get the book Boundaries. It's by the authors Cloud and Townsend, and it'll change your life. I'm just going to say it. It'll change your life, because boundaries are all about you, and they're all about you being responsible for you and letting other people be responsible for them. So decide in advance what your boundaries will be regarding specific behavior, and be prepared to back it up. So again, it's about you protecting you. So it's not saying, okay, if you say this to me again, I'm going to punch you in the face. No. That's you punishing the other person or whatever. So what a boundary sounds like is, okay, if you say this to me again, I'm getting up and I'm leaving the room, right? You're not punishing the other person, but you're protecting you. So that's a big differentiation, is you don't punish other people, right? Because you're not their parent. You're not their mom and dad. It's not your job to punish. But it is your job to protect you and to take care of you. So if you have not read that book, oh my gosh, you guys, get it. Also, I recommend that you decide what you're going to do if the conversation doesn't go well. Okay. So you may, depending on what's going on, what's happening, you may just be able to use your own personal boundaries to be unaffected and carry on with your life, right? Like, let's say there's somebody that you interact with on a fairly regular basis, and they're just kind of a jerk and they do these things, but you're able to say, no, I'm just not going to do it, and just say no and walk away. You just might be able to live with that. And that might be fine. You just put your boundaries up and you do you let them do you let them do them, and just don't let it affect you. Now, on the other hand, the relationship may have to change depending, again, on how the conversation goes. You may have to create some space between you, either relational space or emotional space or even physical space, or the relationship may have to end, right? It's hard to know. There's no way to know until you actually have the conversation. But know this, you have the freedom to decide what's going to be best for you. And that's a beautiful thing. You're not at the mercy of just going along with it, of somebody else, of what somebody else says, just because they say. Like, you have the freedom to decide what's best for you. And lastly, I recommend get really good at recognizing behavior that is controlling, right? Get really good. Go back, listen to episode 29 again. Hear those things, because once you see it, once you recognize it, you can't unsee it. You will develop the awareness of what's happening, and you're going to pick up on it pretty quick. It's going to get very hard. When you have a good EQ, it's hard for people to pull the wool over your eyes. It's hard for people to pull a fast one on you. It's hard for you to get taken, because you recognize it, right? You recognize it. All right, last thing here. What if you realize you have been doing things that are controlling and manipulative? You may have come to that realization. And if that's you, I just want to say, good for you. That is an amazing step, because it's proof that you are able to have self-awareness, and that you're humble enough to realize you're not perfect, right? None of us are. And you might realize, man, I've been doing this. I don't want to be this person. I don't want to do this. And that shows love for the people around you when you decide to look at yourself and say, no, this isn't good. This isn't healthy. I need to make a change. Now realize you may have to work through some guilt and some shame. You may have to work on forgiving yourself, because you might realize, oh my gosh, I did that. I did that to my kids, or I did that to some partners, or I did that to a spouse or a friend, or whatever the situation is. And you might have to forgive yourself, and you will probably have to ask them to do the same thing. Now, once you've done that, now you got to start doing some work. Right? Get very clear on why those things that you were doing, why were they controlling, right? Go through the list and understand it. Now, this can be hard, especially if you were doing or saying controlling things without realizing that was the effect it was having. Because maybe you're just trying to be motivating, or maybe you felt like you were helping the person, right? But it all starts with understanding true personal autonomy, recognizing that the other person and other people are 100% responsible for their own life, and they have the freedom to make choices that they think are best for themselves, are best for their business, are best for their family. And it's allowing them to have that freedom and realizing, I don't need to give emotional consequences. I don't need to give social consequences for other people making adult decisions, right? You don't need to impose them. There might be some natural consequences that happen because of it, and that's fine. That's life, right? That's life. And that's how we all learn, and that's just, it is what it is. But you might realize, I was imposing some. I was adding to the consequences when somebody didn't do what I wanted them to, right? And, it's really just looking inside ourselves and saying, and asking, getting honest. Is there something in me that was making me want to control? Is there an outcome that deep down I was hoping to create by getting them to think or act a certain way? What was my motivation for doing this, right? Those are hard questions, you guys. I just breezed through them in like 30 seconds, but those are hard questions. So here's the way forward. You're going to have to create a new way forward. Dive into learning about boundaries and emotional intelligence as it relates to other people. If you go back to episode 27, eqforentrepreneurs.com/27, the number 27, get our list of resources. We list some books there. Some of the best authors on the issue, the topic of boundaries is Cloud and Townsend. Boundaries, and then their book, Changes That Heal. Oh my gosh. Life-changing. Dive into understanding your own motivations and where they came from, and question if they're healthy for you. Have the courage to change what needs to be changed. Here's the thing, you guys. You will be way happier in life when you're not trying to control people. I promise you that. There is no sure way to be frustrated in your life than trying to fix or change or overly help people by controlling them, because the reality is you can't. They have to choose it. I promise you, there's other healthy ways to motivate people, ways that are healthy for you and healthy for them. There's healthy ways to be connected to people. There's healthy ways to be in community and grow community. There are healthy ways to lead people, and we can learn how to do this, and we must learn how to do this. The reality is emotional health sets you free. And the freer you are going to want other people to be as well. And the revolutionary act of you living completely free as you will automatically give freedom to other people for them to live completely free as them. And can I just tell you, that's intoxicating. When you're around somebody who's so comfortable with them that you can be totally comfortable with yourself, you want to be with that person. There's something magnetic about that. And I just want to wrap this up. Noble and I are Christians, and so there's a verse that I want to share with you that God's kind of given us some fresh eyes for as we're on this journey. It's from the book of Galatians, chapter 5, verses 1 and 13. And I'm just kind of picking these out. There's more context to it, but the principle is beautiful. And I want to share this with you. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. And I love this. God's design for us is to live free emotionally. Yes, to live free relationally, mentally. In so many areas of our life, He wants us to live free spiritually, right? But we're to use our freedom to serve, not to lord over other people, not to control other people. It's not our job. And happiness and peace comes when we stop doing something that is not our job to do in the first place. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. We'd love to hear from you. Please, if you're getting value from this, please subscribe. Leave us a review. We read those. We appreciate those. If you've got a topic, please, or something that you'd like to hear us address, eqforentrepreneurs.com/askaway. And if you would like to join our free Facebook group where we kind of dive in a little bit more on some of these topics, and you can discuss them with other entrepreneurs, just look for the Emotionally Intelligent Entrepreneurs on Facebook, and you can join our group. That's it for this week. Talk to y'all soon.